Welcome to Thrive in a Changing Market. Chuck Charlton, Amy Flowers, Pinder Singh, and Jeff Borg. Thank you for coming today, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. We'll record this, and we'll share the recording with you as well. Why don't we get started? Amy, can I start with you?
Sure.
Give us your take on the market. Where do you think the spring market's going to go?
Sorry, hold on. You need the mic to go to the camera.
Thank you. Are we at? Oh, so my mic works. I don't think your mic actually works.
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
And it's on red light too.
That was red light.
Is it working now?
Yes, there we go. Yes. So I expect, I've seen a few ups and downs through the years, but I do expect that we are going to see a good spring market. I do. I think that we're going to see no more interest rate hikes. And it is very possible with all of the demand that we're going to see a healthy spring market. So that's what I'm aiming for.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yes.
Can I get your take? I'm going to ask you all the same question first.
Good. I agree with Amy. I think you're going to see rates not increase. I think if they even just stay the same for the next, I think December 6th they're having one, and then I think in April again. If it just stays the same, I think you're going to see buyers are going to realize, because they're just trying to time the market. They're wanting, if they start going down, they're thinking, okay, now I should buy because rates are just going to start going down. But if they even stay the same, I think you'll get some of the buyers coming out wanting to buy, thinking that I think that's plateaued. I've seen this cycle about 6 or 7 times over the 36 years I've been doing it, and I think you'll see a healthy spring market.
Pinder. Thanks, Jeff.
I think I'd echo, both those comments. I think we're going to have a great 2024. Kind of like last year, Q4 was a bit challenging. I think a big difference this year is we've got lots of listings. I feel like last year we had no listings, no buyers, and it was a tough go for 3-4 months. So there's some positive there, and there are still buyers. And I think everything we're seeing, all the economists, analysts, it's all positive. The news, social media, as we've realized, that has a huge impact on decisions that buyers and sellers are making. So it's nice to see positive information out there. And I would urge you guys, when you're sharing stuff on your social media, concentrate on the positive. There's lots out there, and don't be sharing the doom and gloom. But I think we're going to have a great spring. So just buckle down, and I think the floodgates will definitely be opening.
Thank you.
That being said, we do need to plan that it's not going to be an excellent spring. Like changing market, we need to plan for that. So being in December, that is part of our business plans every year. What if this goes this differently than we expect? Chuck, sorry.
Thank you for that.
It's an interesting question because I think, you have this people element. Like the truth is, people qualify for about 5 times their income. Right? So like you think about a household making $100,000 a year, they can qualify for a $500,000 mortgage. Like even with prices dropping, the average price in Milton is still over $1 million, right? Like people are feeling crunch. So I actually think that our markets may not see the same kind of upside that the secondary markets are going to see. Right? Like we bought an investment property in Calgary, we paid $399 for it in 2021. Like if you look at where people are going in migration patterns, it's to more affordable areas. And we have to recognize that, right? That those, if you're working with investors or anything else, like these are not always the right markets to buy in, right? I still think that overall, if you look at the big picture, like we're inviting 500,000 or more people a year into the country, and housing starts are down in most areas 70, 80, 90%. Like that's basic supply demand economics. But I think that people are reaching this affordability cap. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like there's a squeeze on money right now and it's really tough for people. So I don't actually think we're going to see these massive swings up in pricing. Like rates are not going to go back down to 2.5%. They're going to moderate, which will help, but I think a lot of people are still struggling now, and we have to acknowledge that, right? Like on social media, we can't just be like, oh, this is gonna be amazing, and like the word for any market is unbelievable, right? Because you can go, it's unbelievable, or man, it's unbelievable, right? You can, we've got to be conscious of what people are going through, right?
I would agree. Hang on to that mic for a second.
Yeah.
So let's move over to what are the conversations you're having with buyers now?
With buyers?
Yeah, in a buyer interview.
Well, I do think that there's an element where if the numbers work now, they're going to work even better, right? Like even with investors, I say this all the time. It's like if it can cash flow now, you're going to be super thrilled later on, right? That the appreciation is going to happen and your carrying costs are going to go down. I think I said this at the last session when we were in conversation. It's like people are so afraid to overpay now. But like when the market changes, when we had, early 2022, they were perfectly happy to overpay, right? It's an interesting psychological experiment that, like people are just afraid to make a mistake. The fear of loss is really wired into us more than that anticipated gain. I think there's a lot of people that are going to regret not buying right now. Right? I think they're going to look back at this time and say that was the window when we should have bought, but you can't prove that until later.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I'm recorded on video saying this, so I can go back and go, look what I said in 2022.
And we all agree, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Well,
Your thoughts
I
on
agree.
your
I
buyer
agree.
conversations now.
No, I echo what Chuck said on that one.
What Chuck said, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get into mindset. How are you, and with your clients and your teams and yourselves, how are you controlling your mindset and filtering out the negativity that comes into the feed every morning when you open your phone?
Pinder.
So for me, my morning is really important. Even my team members, if they try to call me before 10 a.m., it's very hard to get a hold of me. I do my best not to grab my phone right away. It is hard. For me, it's, I tend to pray. So whether you meditate something, just take some time for yourself. And I spend some time with Dylan. So I'm sure everybody knows I got a 4.5-year-old son. So the mornings with him, I drop him off. I do my prayers. I come into the office and I'm ready to go. And for me, that's huge. And then I think, planning, like Amy said. So we're sitting at least once a week as a group. What do you got going on? What are you seeing? What are your struggles? And we're old school. We use our whiteboard. There's lots of apps and technology, but I still like to write things down in our notebook and have it visual on our whiteboard. And I think that keeps us kind of grounded. Like, it's been a hard month, not as much activity as we're used to, but then when we put everything on the board, we're like, okay, there's, almost guaranteed 6 listings coming, in January or February. Okay, we got 12, 15 things in the pipeline. So although it might be hard now, do we have things that we're working on, right? So I think that keeps us kind of going as well when we have a bad week and we're kind of concentrating on the fact that nothing's selling and we got no showings and nobody came to the open house. It's important for us to see that there is, good stuff coming down the road, and it keeps us, positive.
Great, thank you. Jeff?
I agree with what everybody said with regards to this. As far as keeping positive, I'm careful with how I sort of self-talk, and if I'm around people that sort of self-talk, and because you can just drag it into yourself, and it just brings you down, and you don't even realize it. So having been through these cycles, I kind of know that the cloud will move away, and there'll be business, and we just try to do the same thing that we did when it was busy, when it's not busy, and just know that you add it up at the end of the year. So there may be months where we're working really hard and where nothing really is clicking, or you've got listings and less showings, and you have to have these conversations with your vendors about price and stuff like that. And if you just sort of position yourself and know that being in the business for a long time, that you're going to see this kind of stuff, and I think it always just goes away. And if you stay patient and you don't panic, and you don't get, and we tend not to do something that we don't normally do. So if things aren't going the way we want them to go, but we do the same thing all the time, we kind of stick to that, and then know that for us, if I come out of my element and do something I wouldn't normally do, it changes the synergy, and we don't do that. I won't do that.
I'd love to follow that. I think Jeff and I might be a little bit opposite. So for myself, when things are slower, like they are now, I get invigorated by improving and change. So I'm going to take this time through October, November, December and really analyze what the things that we are doing, what is working really well, and what could be improved. We're updating our CRM system now. We're updating just all the back-end systems. That's what I love. So that really fuels me. So it's interesting that, I mean, everybody is different, and everybody's, what invigorates them is very different. So that's what we're doing to stay positive, is forget all the noise and charge forward with improvements, so that when it is crazy busy again, because it will be, we're all set in a new mindset for that.
That's interesting. That's something I didn't know about you, but that's what we have. Another thing we have in common is when things get tough, I snap to attention. And I think, okay, so what do we need to do?
Right.
What do we need to fix? Where are we wasting? Where can we save? And what can we do better is the way I think. And you would know that having been on our management team for a long time. Chuck.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways we, as an industry, kind of get it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, we spend a lot of money when times are good, and then we kind of like get, you know, there may be people in this room that are struggling financially right now, and it's like there's a lot of peace of mind, because I've always been like, when markets are good, I squirrel everything away, and then this becomes deployment time, right? Where you can invest in those CRMs, but you can only do that if you have a little bit of a nest egg and something that you can actually work from. So again, don't buy the fancy cars in 2022 and 2017 and all that stuff, right? Drive your regular car. Sorry, Pinder. It is impressive, though. I'm not going to lie. No, but I just, you know, when you talk about mindset, I think there's an element of just reporting it as is and not playing it up or playing it down. You know, there's opportunities when anything changes. I was talking about that with Erica, and it's okay, right? Like, you can just report it and say, this is what's going on, and this is what it might mean to this person, this person, this person. Like, even, do you guys have people ask you, how's the market? What are they really asking you? They're asking, like, how's my market, right? So if they own a detached home, they don't care what's going on with condos in Toronto, right? They care about what's going on in their circle. And there's a lot of language you can use to get into a good conversation about that. But I'm excited now to just retool a lot of things. I think the truth is we're in the stage of the market where we're oversaturated with agents and we're kind of undersaturated with business. Like, we're down, I don't know what the numbers are, sales are down 40%, right? So there's more people fighting for this less business, really. And so I say this to the agents on the team, you're gonna have to work 2 or 3 times as hard to get to the same level. It's just the way it is. Like, sorry, but like, that's just how you have to do it. But what happens is when markets kind of drop down, if you look at the numbers of agent counts and everything else, it actually turns the other way, and you can pick up market share right in that dip. Do you know, like, it's hard to pick up market share when the market's soaring, but when it dips, we actually become undersupplied with agents, and you can start to go, okay, now, I know you and I are licking our lips going, okay, now it's time to go, right? So just weather those tough times, but deploy when things are bad. Those are opportunity times.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think for us, it's kind of a mix of what all three have already said. So with Jeff, I agree that I don't really change what I do, like our kind of day to day, but definitely made some changes. Like, Q4 was really tough, and in Q1, I ended up investing money into, you know, lead generation. I ended up 5xing our print media going out. Newsletters went out to 5 times more people in our geographical farm. So I definitely agree there was changes, and you know, and I think Chuck mentioned when everybody else is, you know, pulling back on the purse strings, we decided to open up and spend more. I don't think our core way of business changed, but we definitely changed kind of more where we were reaching and how much we were doing. So I think I can kind of see, you know, all 3 points. I think we kind of do a mix of that.
We had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and you mentioned something about how happy you were with the listings you were getting compared to the ones you were missing and not very happy about. Can you expand on that for a second?
Yeah, you know what? There's so much I want to say, but I got to limit it. I will touch on it very quickly. I had a small shift as well in mindset in regards to commissions. Can't speak too much on that, but we track everything, and there was 2 entries in my spreadsheet that were next to each other, and I saw the numbers, and it made my eyes kind of pop out of my head. And I made a decision at that point was I'm going to finally listen to Alex after 17 years. We started to kind of stay very secure on the fact that this is how we work, this is our price. So that led us to about 6 opportunities recently, and we walked away from those listings. And I'm talking, small differences, where it's like, okay, if you do 0.5%, it's yours. No, I'm not doing it. And it's a hard pill to swallow, makes you want to puke when you leave there, and you're like counting the money. But I look back, and not that I don't wish anything negative on the people. I'm still in touch, they're still going to get a Christmas card, and it's fine. But when I look back, none of those listings sold. And, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, I'm doing the math in my head, and I'm like, that was $4,000 I would have invested there. And there's another $5,000 there, $3,000 there. But beyond the money, having a load of listings when the market is tough and you got to have bad conversations with every seller every few days, did I really need 6 more of those to drag me down and get me depressed? Probably not. Ironically, just yesterday, one of those listings, the seller reached out to me. And, without saying it, but reading between the lines was, we wish we went with you. We're going to change course for now and stay in touch. Can we talk in the new year? So it was important not to have the mindset of scarcity to, oh my God, I have to have it, I'll do anything to have it, to this doesn't fit the way I want to work and the way I want to live every day. And maybe those people come back, and we've had it before where people didn't work with us, but they referred us people. So we keep those connections. And very quickly, yesterday, I got an email from a client I probably talked to 5 years ago. And just dripping, still got her set up on the prospect search and getting the newsletter. And she emailed me out of nowhere yesterday. Hey, how's it going? Can I buy this house? And I think mine would sell for this, and let's go for coffee. So I don't give up on the people and the relationship when the deal doesn't go through, and just show them that you're genuine and honest, and I'm just here for you. If you ever work with me, great. If you don't, you don't. But I think it was important to come from a place of abundance instead of scarcity.
Great, thank you. Jeff?
Yes.
You have seen probably 4 of these markets, I guess?
Yeah, at least.
Maybe 5?
Yeah, probably.
And so people who have been licensed since 2019 and forward have never seen anything but an up market until now. And so tell us about your conversations with sellers now. How do you approach it, and how is it different than you would have done it 2 years ago?
I like to go in with listing appointments and try and get the price right at the very beginning, just to educate them on what's been happening in their area, what I think their house is worth, why it's worth it, what it was worth before, what it would be worth now. Because the truth of the matter is, if you're buying up in this market, it's good, because if you're selling for less money in a percentage and your house is worth less than the one you're purchasing, as you go up higher in value, that percentage tends to be greater than your percentage, because by virtue of people not being able to afford a more expensive house. So the upside could be you're selling for a little less, but you're also going to be buying for a little less, but it's higher. So it really only works to their disadvantage if you're doing it and you're retiring, because you want the most amount of money for your house because you're not buying another property. Now you can turn it around and say, well, you could take that money and invest it in something else, because when real estate's down, there's another investment, vehicle you could use to make up the difference and quality of life. But I think we have these conversations, I have these conversations, and try and set it up at the very beginning, because then you don't want to have to keep coming back to them and say, oh, the market's this, the market's that. I mean, you do, because it changes. It's not like it's not permanent, it just goes up, it goes down. But we try to set it at the very beginning and have these conversations I won't take an overpriced listing. Because like Pinder said, then you have all these people and it's just a lot of negative energy. And sometimes I'm grateful not getting them. Like I'm just like, yeah, thank God I didn't get that, or I don't want to, because you don't mesh. And you take those listings, they just weigh on you. You're always like, and the ones that, if you're doing it and they're so demanding, they cause you the most grief anyway. So I would say sometimes less is more. for us.
Makes sense. You can hang on to that. I have another question for you.
Okay. I'm on a roll.
Well, you and I had a conversation earlier this week.
Yep.
And it was, the idea was, again, we were focused on people who maybe haven't been in the business a long time. And I think both of us agreed that we can't let a deal die in our hands, and that you have to be the person who's moving it along constantly. Can you share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it happens to everybody. I mean, the longer you're in it, you get exposed to that, and I just, I don't give up on anything. I just, if it's not working right now, we had an offer on a property in Mississauga a few weeks ago. They tried a price of $1.3 million and change, then they reduced it to $999,000. There's an offer date, didn't get any offers, talked to the agent. I said, look, I can get you an offer. I'm gonna do a home inspection. So he says, okay, great. And obviously, I'm not going to give him more than asking because he didn't get any offers. So we were a little annoyed. We went to do the home inspection, and while we were literally doing it, and unbeknownst to me, he changed the price to $1,349,000 from $999,000. So we're in there doing a home inspection, found some deficiencies, sent him a great offer, and we didn't get there was no deal there because he had this new price. So my clients were a little bit annoyed. I gave them the money back for the inspection. I said, how was I to know that he changed the price? But he's since lost the listing and someone else has got it. And so we're watching it because I think we'll get it. I mean, we won't get it for what it's not worth, but she's not going to sell it at that price because the market hasn't changed. I've already kind of reached out to her and said, hey, listen, we had this home inspection. I could bring you an offer. I just don't think giving up. I mean, I just won't give up. You just watch it and keep moving on it. And a lot of times you get it.
Thank you.
What's that? Yeah, I know. I was like,
While you're doing an inspection.
Well, I went and looked at the history, and I'm like, it's 331. We were here at 230. Like, you literally changed the price from, I said it in an email to him. I'm like, I don't know, not so cool. Like, I mean, my clients thought he was a dick. Like, that's what they said. Wow, what a dick. I'm like, yeah, I get it. So here, I'll give you the money back. We'll go on to another one. Because these are good clients that we already have a relationship with. And so they know, they're not going to overpay for it because there was lots of stuff wrong with it. So why would we? I mean, you wouldn't. So I just thought, well, I'll just give you the money back. And if you get this house, you can give it back to me. If you don't get this house, who cares?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Chuck, your diagrams that you sent me, do we have those
I
available?
almost forgot about them. I got my little
Oh, you
pointer.
do? Okay.
Yeah.
Could you share a couple of those things with us?
Yeah, I apologize for you guys. You probably can't see them too well. I drew this with my Apple Pencil on the iPad. Oh, it's not working. Oh, there you go. So it's backwards. Okay, so if we believe that we're in this kind of declining market, right, that's going down, I mean, you've got to get people thinking about pricing ahead of the market. Because if you're just a little bit overpriced right in the beginning, even if you miss it by 5,000, it's like you're going to be 20,000 overpriced at some point in the near future, right? So then you see a price change, and then you carry on, and you're never hitting that line. How many people can relate to this? Do you have sellers that are doing this? Right, and then what they eventually do is they have to sell under value because they've kind of, like, they have to recapture momentum, right? And so versus if they were just a little bit under market value, knowing that the market's not heading in the right direction, they could have been sold up here. So the gap between these two numbers is really just missed opportunity from, a lot of times it comes down to a little bit of greed, right? Or I'll be honest, it comes down to the agent not really having the crucial conversations that should have been had. So I try and...
I just want to say I've lived that nightmare and had those conversations.
Of course, all of us have. If you've been long enough.
Listen to you.
And sometimes...
How much evidence you give them.
Yeah, and sometimes, to be honest, like, it catches us off guard too. When markets change, they change quick, right?
Yes.
And sometimes, do you guys find that, like, you're trying to root for it? So I think it's important to remember you play the cards that you're dealt, not the ones you wish you had. Right? And we have to remember that, is that we can get emotionally invested too and try and get that number. And you just got to be really honest with things. Marco's in the house. How you doing, Marco? Yeah. All right. So sold prices are yesterday, right? So it's like today backwards, right? So you can look at them as a guide they'll give you a rough idea, but competition is today, guys. You got to scrutinize everything that's going on with competition, and you really have to let them know that if only 1 in 3 homes are selling, or 1 in 5, that means, you know, only one person is going to the island, right? Like, do you want to be number 1, or do you want to be 2 and 3? Like, you have to have those kind of conversations up front. Do you need to be, sometimes they need to be number 1. Well, this is what it's going to take. I don't like it, but that's the truth. And it's a beauty pageant too, right?
Can I echo you before you go to the next one?
Mhm.
Can I echo you?
Yeah. But beauty pageant, right? You got to make your homes look good.
Yes, but later.
I just wanted this is so key. I'm glad you drew this for everybody. When I first started my career, I'd say for the first 15 years, this was the number one stuff that we all had to learn how to do, and we had to know how to talk so well to this. Absorption rate, you need to know it inside and out. You need to understand. We track it every Monday. We get an update of what the absorption rate is, so that we can say today, 1 in 3 houses are selling, 1 in 5 houses are selling. Right now, it's actually 1 in 3. So this part here, if you don't know how to say this stuff inside and out, this is where you should be working objection handling wise to help get your listings sold. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And sometimes we look at the whole market, but the truth is 1-bedroom condos can be doing something different than 2-bedroom condos. So don't just take the TREB stats. You have to do the deep research about that property that those clients have, right? Detached home, 2-car garage between 1.3 and 1.6. You got to look at that slice of the market and say, how many listings, how many sales, right? So you have to be good with your numbers for sure. Because, that's another one I can talk about. But a seller's market, it's like most of the properties are what we call, seller's market. I'm trying to point. So most of the properties are in. You think about like 2017, 2022, it's like, it didn't matter if the property was in poor condition or if it was high priced. That thing would sell, right? Now, what does it look like? I promise I'll get this right by the end. Now, there's less properties that are selling, and the only ones that are is the beauty pageant. They're in good condition and they're priced well. The high price stuff, or the things that don't look good, or they're not in a super kind of like in demand hot area, they're not moving. Right? So like, and this goes down to absorption rates. It means, 20% or 30% are in, the rest are out. And this is a good reference point if you include this in a listing presentation or any communication you have to just kind of report back to them. I always say to clients is that after a week or two, I'm going to tell you, are we in or are we out? What's the measure of if we're out? We're not getting showings, right? Like, it's that simple. In any market, if you're not getting showings, you're out of the market. If you're in the market, what kind of things are happening? Agents are calling you, hey, what kind of price would they take? What kind of closing? That's in. That means fish are nibbling on the hook, right? You're getting second showings, that kind of stuff. There's also a third market in between these, which is called no man's land, which is like you're getting showings, but nobody's excited. They're just waiting for something to happen on it, right? So it's like saying to a seller, on day 7, day 14, day 21, I'm going to tell you if I think we're in, or we're out, or we're in no man's land. It can be really powerful. And another thing that I think some of us need to think about doing is pre-arranged price adjustments, right? Where it's like, we're going to run this for however long, 2-3 weeks. Average days on market in Milton right now is about 24. Do you guys know what happens when they actually start the listing? How hard is it to convince someone to change their price? It's not easy because their ego gets attached. We have to remember that, right? Like, people have these conversations at work, and the coworkers are saying, hey, is your house sold yet? And they're like, no. And they feel like shit because their self-esteem is tied into this process. Jeff, you were talking about like how, okay, I'm gonna accept less, but then the next one I'm gonna get a great deal on. Right. They have to see a win in the story, and they have to be able to justify what's going on. Well, my house isn't selling, but I had 8 show. You have to be the communicator and recognize that they need to be able to justify and placate themselves, right? The self-esteem is tied into the sale process. So anyway.
And they're not losing money.
They're not, they're ahead, but that's the win. That's what they're gonna tell all their coworkers, is to say, hey, I took a little less, but boy, I got a great deal on that next one.
Right.
Now they can put their chest out and say,
You're not selling.
I'm doing
but
okay.
You're selling at the same time and buying, so
Yeah.
they're connected.
Absolutely.
So you help them with that thought process, because they're thinking, well, if I sold then, and then you have that data and say, well, if you did, and you're gonna buy the one that you're purchasing, that one was far greater than it is today. So the difference is actually the people who bought
Actually,
would switch
you
with
should
you.
have this.
I'm good, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm good.
Alex, can you even give him a mic?
I'm good.
Because it may not be recorded.
I said it.
No, but it goes in the.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah.
sorry, okay. I said it again.
Sometimes it's educating the other agent to what to say too, because they don't know that reason applied. If you help, give them the story to give to their people, sometimes that helps too, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want to continue talking about price changes? We could definitely talk about that.
yeah, I think we should. I
Yeah.
think we should get into that a little bit more.
So yeah, that's definitely something that we're, I think, all experiencing for the most part. Our really strategy is, we're very open about it from day one. This is the market. It's just informing them, right? Here's a lot of data, some charts, information. People like visuals. We're known as talkers as realtors, so I don't think the talking is enough. So I find it very important to have a visual to show them numbers and facts. And then weekly, we give them an update. So we have one listing right now, which is a perfect example. I don't even ask for a price change. So I send them a weekly update. Here's what has sold since our last talk or since we've been listed. Here's what's come on the market. Here's the ones that have dropped price. Here's where we stand. Here's the showings. So I give him all the information back. And his response, depending on the week, will be, okay, thanks. And then the next week I send him an update. Okay, drop the price 10,000. I didn't say price change. I didn't put a number in there. I didn't have to say a word. It was just, here's the facts. And I'd say most of our sellers, the way that we prepared them, will use their common sense, right? We'll send them enough information that it's right there. They can read it. When you look at that data, it screams at you where you need to be. And they take on that decision without us having to say, hey, are you willing to consider dropping the price? Or would you consider this number? So I find that's been really helpful for us. And something I talked about in another session about price changes is I'll usually gather all that information and I'll send it in the evening. So let's say it's a couple to, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, here's an update this week, here's what's going on. Do me a favor, talk about it, sleep on it, and let's connect tomorrow. And I found that super helpful, so it's not this highly emotional conversation where we're, confrontational and I'm trying to win and I'm trying to convince them. Here it is, digest. You're not gonna like it the first half an hour, and that's fine. You guys have that conversation at the dinner table, and then we'll connect tomorrow. And they've usually calmed down. They've looked at it, they've, seen their social media feed, they've talked to their neighbor, they've realized that is the reality, and then they're much more calm when they come back to the phone conversation or in-person meeting with me. Is we don't love it, but we read your email, we talked about it, you're right, let's go ahead and make a price change or make this adjustment. So that's made it a lot easier, because I think no matter how long you've done it, I think all of our stomachs flip. And you get those butterflies and you get that nervousness and you're like, oh my God, I gotta have this difficult conversation. So I find that has softened things a lot for me as to the timing and the information that I provide. The follow-up conversation is super easy 9 out of 10 times.
Thank you. Jeff, I'm going to come back to you again.
Yep.
Your level of communication to your sellers, how often compared to what we might have done before, and how frequently, and how in touch are you with your sellers?
Right now, really in touch, because previous to this, every 6 days the house would sell. So it's always a home run. Oh wow, you did a great job. But now you have to really, the communication is important. So we do the same thing. I'll talk to clients and they'll, hey, this house sold around the corner for me. I said, yeah, I was just going to talk to you about that similar house, and it sold for this much money. The agent who sold it didn't even make an appointment to see your house. So we don't want to be that person. We don't want to help somebody else sell their house by being overpriced in this market. So you really, I think that communication at the very beginning when we're on listing appointments is crucial, because you're kind of already setting the stage, and they're not giving their house away, because people say, I don't want to give my house away. I'm like, well, you're not giving it away, no one wants to buy it. So it's not a good deal. Like if it was a good deal, someone would buy it. So you're not losing any money, right? You're like, if I was showing you stuff that's on the market for 30, 40, 50 days, are you gonna play close to asking price? And the answer is no, because obviously it's overpriced. And that's where we're at. And then other agents will try to come up with some ridiculous price. And so you wanna try and change that a little bit, at least, because you're going to get that kind of stuff. And we try to do it at the very beginning, and we communicate a lot.
Can you expand on the prep you do with the house?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, so for us, we have like a value-added proposition. So we'll go in, look at a house, and make some recommendations, whether it be change out some lights, some paint, some staging, decluttering. And it's just a function of money. What's the house worth? How much of it will we pay for? How much of it will they pay for? We'll pay for all of it. They'll reimburse us, because you have to have the beauty pageant house right now. If you don't have that, and then we use our Instagram when we go for listing appointments to say, before, after, before, after. Who do you want to be? You want to be the before, or you want to be the after? Because the after is selling, the before is not selling. And I find that, we get full commission. Obviously, we're paying for some of the work, but it makes it easier because it's a team. So if I do 10 things, you do 10 things, it works. If I do 10, you do 3, it won't work. If you do 10 and I do 3, it won't work. So when they see that you're invested in it and you've got this team around you that can change a house relatively quickly, even in this market, if you price it properly and make it look really nice, I think things are still selling. I mean, they are for us. It may take a little longer. You may have to do a little bit of an adjustment, but I think the system for us works.
Thank you. Amy, I have a question for you. Tell us about the marketing direction that you think we should be taking coming into the new year.
The marketing.
What should we be doing the same, differently, or not?
Well, having lived through down markets, echoing what Chuck said earlier, it is the time to go forward with more marketing. However you decide to do it, I would suggest analytics to see what is working and what is not working in your marketplace and then for you. But I would double down, and now is the time to gain that market share from people who have done it. We've done it already in a market that is lower, and oh man, sale prices are down, number of sales is down, but our market share increases. There's a reason for that, and that is at getting extra marketing out there. Did I answer the question that you were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Another answer would be fine too.
Okay, no problem. I would say that would be my answer to that one. Yep.
Doubling down on the marketing, doubling down on the communications.
Yes.
100%. What else do we need to double down on?
If you were to take one thing away from today, it would be what Chuck had said with regards to having conversations with sellers. I just feel like the agents from 2019 on have never had to do that before. We take it for granted. We take it for granted because this is the business we came into. So I can talk about pricing and how not to price it properly all day long, but I haven't in 10 years at least. So there's so many agents out there who don't know how to have those conversations with sellers. They just don't. So that one, if you are in the staging game right now and you are staging houses for people, a staging contract, if you didn't have one before, you have to have one now. For the longest time, we did not have one, and it was okay. Very seldom would a house not sell that we staged. And if it did, it was like 1 or 2. So I ate the cost. It wasn't that big a deal. But now there's going to be a lot more, and houses are going to be staged for longer. So staging contracts are going to be huge. If you don't have one, email me and I'll give you ours. So that would, pricing conversations, staging contracts. Yeah. Trying to think if there was something else I wanted to say, but I don't remember what it was.
It's funny when you bring up staging contracts. I've talked to 3 different staging companies, and they've all moved to 45 to 60 days.
Yeah.
Now they're bending as opposed to the 2-week stage.
Watch their profitability, though. That would be my concern for them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just wanted to add a little plug here quickly for Meadowtowne. We're at a great brokerage. You got a lot of resources between management and your fellow agents. Amy mentioned that a lot of people who are newer in the business have never had those conversations. Let's do some role play. Let's get back to old school. We'd order pizza and get a bottle of wine and sit, and we got this great cafe. Get together one evening like we used to do the dialing for dollars. Right?
That would be fun.
Don't do
spill
the
wine
dialing.
on this carpet or the couch because it's not ours. It's staged.
But I think it's a slower time right now. We got time to work on our business. Why not get together with your management and
That'd be a lot of
colleagues?
fun.
And, yeah, let's practice some of those scripts on how we do it.
We used to do it all the time.
Absolutely. You know, we talk about things like predetermined price changes. When do we cancel it and relist it? When do we reposition it with new photography? How often do we talk to each other? When do we update what's sold in the area or what didn't sell? When do I tell you how many new listings there are? This is full contact real estate, and it's a different game. And how many of you have never been through that sort of market before? Only two. You've been through every market.
You want to eat? Not this year.
But these are things that, you know, all of us here and many of you in the room have gone through before, and it doesn't mean that this changing market doesn't scare the shit out of you sometimes, because it does, and even while you're doubling down, you're thinking, okay, what's the worst case? What's the best case? What do I need to do? What shouldn't I do? And let's just move forward. And move forward is having the confidence that we're in the right market and it's going to bounce. We just don't know when. That would be my take. Chuck, you had another slide you were going to show, didn't you?
I have lots of slides.
Do you?
Marketing is one thing, and I think if I had any advice there, just be better at telling the truth, and also follow people who are the authorities. Phil Soper, I mean, we've got a fantastic person there. Have you guys ever just watched Phil and just gone, man, like, I wish I could just speak like him. Like, he's so good at explaining markets, and follow him. Benjamin Tell, these people out there, like this is their job, is to research this stuff, quote people when necessary, but say, this is, you know, Phil Soper said this, you know, and carry on from their authority, like latch on to their coattails, because they're the guys that really know. This is the one that I want to talk about with, like, regarding focus for your day. How many people want to get paid today, right? Who wants money right now? Yeah? I tell this I explain this to my team members all the time. By the way, it looks like I have Parkinson's. I'm sorry, I can't draw a circle to save my life. So the quickest path to making money right now is what? It's people that you have as clients, right? It's a listing and a buyer. So the very first thing you need to do when you wake up is to say, how can I move those people forward, right? How can I get an offer for, like, because again, home search or searching for a buyer, that's the fastest path to money, right? And then the next level going from the bullseye is leads you've already attracted. How many of us have fully maximized and optimized all the opportunities that are sitting on your lap? Like in Follow Up Boss, have you reached out to everybody? You haven't. So I say this to agents sometimes because they're like, oh, I want to go run an open house. And I'm like, it's irresponsible to go looking for new leads if you haven't finished the job with these people that you already have. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make it, you already paid money or you spent time getting those people. Why would you go look for new stuff? But a lot of us in our business seek to be entertained and not sustained. Do you know? Because it's entertaining to go look for the new fish. But the truth is there's already fish in your pond, right? It's true. So I think you need to refocus on that, is that don't go looking for new stuff until you've got this. And then if you've maximized that, then you go into lead gen, preferably with a system that you know has a good return on time or a good return on investment, that you can convert people well from an open house. You can door knock, you can whatever, Facebook ads. So, but you know that that works. And then you go to the unproven, undependable, indirect leads, right? Then you go, okay, I'm going to go buy a park bench. Excuse me. Wow, that's, yeah.
Glad it's not our furniture.
Yeah, it's like Ace Ventura, do not go in there. But I think what we need to look at is every day is to align ourselves from the inside out, right? If you're playing darts, you aim for that middle bullseye, and then that's how we make money now, because your time is finite, right? We all have the same amount of hours, so you have to really focus on the things that are going to move it forward. Was that helpful? Did you guys find that helpful? Yeah? Okay. Even, like, we need to be reminded that as business
It
owners.
was a great reminder.
Yeah, because operationally, it's true. Operationally, you're like, oh, I need to fix the CRM, but that will eventually long-term lead to something, but you got to remember what's going to make money today, right?
I'm glad you drew it. It's very good. Amy, can you expand?
No, he does such a good job.
No, come
That's why
on.
I'm laughing, he's talking about other people, he did such a great job.
It's a hard follow.
I
It is a hard follow,
I
but,
can't,
you know.
No.
No. You heard it here first.
You did such a good job of explaining that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Pinder, I know Pinder likes to speak, so that's why I keep asking him. And so, in 20 words or less, no, I'm just kidding. How do you turn a simple social meeting or outing into business? You seem to have been good at that for as long as I've known you.
Yeah, it's a hard one to answer because I'm very backwards in that sense. I go to these amazing events and opportunities, and I don't bring any business cards, and I get caught in this situation regularly. And I think that's what people really appreciate, though, because I didn't go in there hunting for the business. You know, like I remember going to a client's wedding, and I refused to bring business cards, and I've seen it before where somebody's put their business card on like every place setting, like, oh my God, what are you doing? Are you here for a wedding or for leads, right? But I let it happen naturally, and I think for me is I had a very bad memory, and I've worked on that. I remember, Alex, you had a great book about how to use certain techniques to learn how to remember, and I play a name game, and everybody else says, you're so good at remembering names. I'm like, I really wasn't, but I put work into it. So I'll make it fun, and I go out of my way to make sure I remember everybody's name, and you know, they'll always joke, oh, there's gonna be a test at the end of the night. I'm like, I know, and I'm gonna pass. But the important part was, so tell me about yourself, right? Oh, you got kids, what do you do? That's great. And it's, again, it's the exact opposite, is I don't want to talk about real estate. I'll talk about my wife, my kids, my, you know, things that I enjoy, and just kind of me as a human being, and talk more about them, as we all like to talk about ourselves. At some point, they're going to ask you, oh, so what do you do? And it's going to come up, and then I think it's very important that I redirect it again quickly. You know, so now you know what I do, and let's get back to you and build a relationship. And they'll usually ask me for my info. I was just in Jamaica, I don't know, a week or two ago, and I ended up having my phone passed around. So all I did, I'm like, I didn't bring business cards to Jamaica, but I'm like, here, open my Instagram. And I'm like, here, pass it around, put your info in there, and send me a message. I've been in touch with almost everybody I met in Jamaica already, right? And again, it wasn't like cheesy. It wasn't, you know, oh, I'm a realtor, give me your contacts. No, it was really nice hanging out with you. Oh, you guys are from Canada? Cool, take my info. Or doesn't matter where you're from. Okay, if I'm ever visiting, you know, I got a friend to stay with. You know, so I think that genuine part is really important, and asking them about themselves and getting to know them as a person.
So which of us at the table, because you guys are thinking, well, it's you guys, like you guys are superstars, right? How many of us, out of 5, would rather not go out, like are a little bit introverted by nature? Not Jeff. So the truth is, when I get invited to go somewhere, my first instinct is no. And my son actually pointed this out. He says, Dad, it's just like, you know, when I want to do something, I always like to ask you before Mom. And I said, why? He says, because I know what you're going to say. It's always no. And then you'll slowly convert to yes. And he says, and you do that with everything. He says, if I ask Mom, she says yes, then you get to her, and you turn it around, no, and I'm disappointed. And so when I have to go to an awards function, or I have to go to the Chamber of Commerce, or whatever, my first instinct is, I don't want to go. and so, but I go. I always go. And
We're glad you're here.
I didn't want to come this morning. Does anyone else ever feel that way with stuff, but you make yourself do it?
Yeah, although I'm a true extrovert, I still feel that. So it's getting out of the house is hard. As soon as I get home, even if it's the middle of the day, I go into pajamas. Even if I'm leaving again, I'll put my clothes nicely, change into pajamas, and then change back. So I like to be comfortable. And then getting me out of that is really hard. Like, oh, I gotta shave, I gotta get dressed. But 10 out of 10 times, by the time I make it there, I'm glad I went. I had a great time, but you gotta get through that. Getting out the door part is a little bit hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Amy, you can't say no again.
I agree.
That's awesome.
No, I'm the same as you, yes, but we have to go out and do those things. And that's something I knew from a long time ago. Not that I like doing them, but yes, we have to get out and do those social events, whether it's with clients or whether it's with colleagues or people in our industry or without. We have to go and do those and be social. Sometimes I would use alcohol sometimes to lubricate a little bit, makes chatting a little bit easier, but you don't have to do that.
Yeah, it's, and so I wanted to bring that up because not everyone in the room knows that about
It's not
a lot of people.
an admirable quality of us. I'm not proud of it. So I guess we talk about it only because if you happen to be like that too, it's okay. It's normal. Other people are that way as well.
And once you get dressed, get in the car, and you're on your way, with a drink in your hand. With a drink in your hand, in the car.
It helps.
If you've called an Uber, it's okay. No, it's just something that people assume that some people are built differently, and some are, but most have that hesitation too. Jeff, what's your favorite thing? You've been at this for as long as I have, if not longer. What do you still love about real estate?
A lot of things. So I love that it's always different, that that it evolves. It's that you're with different people, different situations. I like the freedom. I like the lifestyle it affords me and Violet. I like all those things. But I would say at this time of my career, I like working with, I like transforming houses. So I like going into someone's house and changing it, and they're surprised and it sells well. So I mean, I'm not doing it myself personally. We're just quarterbacking it and getting everybody to come in to do it. So I really like doing that a lot. I'd say the thing I like the most is working with seniors. I just like, when I have an appointment and, Violet will say, how'd the appointment go? And I'm like, you know what? I'm so grateful that these people, came into my life because I'm going to make sure that nothing goes bad for them. I'm going to get them the most amount of money. I'm going to, when I first got my license, my dad told me that. He said, just be the person that you'd like to be if the roles were reversed, right? Just be that person, treat them with respect, be honest with them, never tell a lie, just all those different things. And I find that seniors, they're vulnerable. I mean, everybody's parents are vulnerable. So I leave, and usually those are the most gratifying things that, I do, that I like. It would be that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chuck, can I get you back in there with one of your pieces of wisdom that everyone's going to agree with, or disagree? Because I know you can be
I'm
controversial.
very contrarian for sure.
Contrarian.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Oh, just about the same question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, for those of us that have teams, and Pinder, I've seen you go from single agent to team leader. It's a very gratifying thing. It's also one of the hardest things you can do in the business, right? I find that after a certain point, Jeff, you know how to sell a house, right? I get it, I can do it. But you can become a master at that after a couple of years. Being a leader and helping people kind of achieve their dreams, right? Helping the chess pieces play their best game, right? That is immensely satisfying. It could be immensely disappointing at times. It really is. It's the best and the worst of this business is kind of going from being a single agent into a leader. But I just find it so the learning curve on that, I mean, Alex, you run an organization. It's like there's so much to learn. You're never going to hit the finish line. And it's just improvement every day, a little bit more, a little bit more. I am introverted, but I love people, right? I really do. And you guys can hear that when I talked about affordability and everything else, that I still get excited by helping people strategize in a difficult time, because we are often a part of people's lives at a very delicate stage, right? Job transfer, divorce, running out of space, having too much space. And we need to remember that too, because sometimes you can do this long enough that you just go into operation mode. Okay, we do this, we do this, we do that. But seeing the results of how you can change someone's life in that delicate stage is really important. Ben is our co-op student. I was chatting with him in the car about things that happen after closing too, right? Because anything that you do in the client's perception after you get paid is like triple bonus points, right? Like we ran a farm party and like you delivered pies and everything else, because the client on some level knows that you got what you wanted out of the relationship, right? And now when you do something extra for them after closing, if you show up, right, or pay for their home inspection, you didn't have to do that. But on some level, their heart knows it, right? That they said, Jeff went out of his way for me. He didn't have to do that. Amy delivered pie. She didn't have to do that, right? Like that, the relationship changes at that moment. Do you know what I mean? That's still exciting to me. I love that. I love feeling connected to somebody. And it's not about the money. It's about, we search for meaning in those relationships, right? You can't take the money with you when you're gone. But how many people are going to show up to the funeral and say, that guy, he was a real dude?
Wow, you brought me into a flashback moment with the early days of Joe Stump.
Yeah.
And doing his 2-day main event. And I was in the business about 6 years at the time. And he said, so raise your hands if you've ever sold a property. So you've had a client, you've made some deals. And everyone had paid pretty good money to be there for 2 days, so everybody raised their hands. And they said, how many of you have never talked to the client again after closing? And you could hear a pin drop. You could hear a pin drop in the room, and so many hands went up. And then, he just took us through this, and everyone was just sliding down, because I was one of the ones that raised my hand and said, yeah, it's happened actually a lot of times. I never really followed up afterwards.
That's why we created our client care department, or your licensed assistant, or listing coordinator, whatever you want to call them. That's why we created that department, was exactly that. That was me. I did not enjoy talking to clients afterwards. I knew that about myself. I wanted to be the surgeon. I wanted to be there, get in, do your job, do the job, do what needed to be done, and get out. But that's not okay, and I knew that wasn't okay. So instead of trying to change myself, it's not easy to do. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna hire someone and create an entire department of our business centered, whose only job was to make our clients feel amazing. And so I never say, okay, what'd you do today? What'd you do? Are you in the office? No, none of that. If you go and have coffee 7 times today with 7 different people, that's the best way to spend your time. That's perfect. That's why we did that.
Absolutely. And so, when it was described to me, and I'll never forget this, is okay, so you find these people, you build a relationship with them, you spend all these hours with them, you help them, you consult them, you know everything about their family, they know everything about your life, and you're just so attached. You do the offer, everybody's excited, whether it's a buy or sell or both, and then you get paid and they never hear from you again. And he goes, how would you feel?
Pretty.
And as you sink into your chair. So if you have done that, don't do it again. And if you have done that, there's still an option that you can open the door and go back to them and say, hey, I'm really sorry. And you could start the relationship again. It's not that hard.
Alex, I think that as we're seeing the trend of teams taking over market share is growing and growing and growing, and it has for a while. I feel that right there is a big reason why, because we have systems in place to make sure that doesn't happen. But if you're a single agent let's say that, you don't have time necessarily all the time to go and talk to people after closing, because you're working with the next people who need to sell their house.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Pinder?
So I guess the original question was what we love about real estate. Should I touch on that? So I can wear fancy clothes. No,
You would do that in any business.
right. No, you know what? It's what everybody here touched on. I've cried with clients. We've exchanged I love yous. When Dylan was sick, I had clients drop off, food and gifts to our house. Those kind of things you just can't replace. The money's great, don't get me wrong, but after a few years, that stops kind of being the main goal. Awards are great the first few years. That wears off, but when you touch people, it's amazing. So I'm not great at following up either, like Amy had kind of discussed. I'll get into my head, and I think there's probably a lot of people in the room that would probably feel the same. Like, oh my God, and I've created this situation that hasn't happened. And it's like, oh my God, I haven't touched base. They're going to be mad at me. They hate me. What if they notice the market dropped and now they're mad at me that the house is worth $300,000 less? When I finally work up the guts to communicate with them, it's never been the case. Never. And they're always like, oh, we love you. We're so happy and you're great. And it's like, oh. And so I think a lot of times we've created our own problems in our minds by overthinking. And just reach out. And if you're not great on the phone, which I'm not, I'll do little things. Like, I'll give you guys a quick tip. The Gap, they regularly have, huge sales. And so I'm looking for, clothes for Dylan all the time. And I'll see like infant clothes for like $9, $6. I buy a bunch. I'll buy like 5-6 male and 5-6 female, and I have them in the office.
I thought those looked a little small.
They're a little short. And it's cheaper, right? But we'll likely have some gift bags in our office and a few brand new infant clothes. And on Facebook or Instagram, I see somebody we know just had a kid. Hey, Tisha, do me a favor, grab that. Can you go drop it off and send me a photo? And so Natisha's great, she's the backbone, and she'll drop it off, send me the photo, and I take all the credit. And so I'll take that photo and I forward it to the client. You notice, hey, congratulations on the birth of your, son, your daughter. They've usually put the name and the weight on their post. So, congratulations on, Amelia, she's beautiful. And, you look like a star, and it didn't take much. There's so many little things if you talk to your colleagues and ideas that, we can all share with each other. And so again, you're not great at wanting to be on the phone. There's other things you can do to still stay in touch with those clients. Or, you know what, you don't want to do that, but you're okay on the phone, or you want to have an event, but don't get scared from communicating with those people, and those relationships will make you continue to love this business.
Can I add something to that? Thank you, Pinder. I think that running a client event, which is another talk we had, a couple weeks ago, that's an excuse to have them come to you, which is really nice, right? If you don't want to reach out to them, sometimes and it's a chance to reach out. It's a way that you can, because I think what drives us nuts is that whole small talk. Oh, how are you? And right, that. Oh, but if you just say, hey, I'm running a farm party. Would you like to come? Right? It'd be great to see you again. That's a little bit less intense, right? It's something that has purpose.
Last year we had almost 500 people come out to Andrews, and for those of you who didn't send any of your clients, please do this year, because we'll do it again. So what I'm going to walk away from this is I'm going to start a client care department, I think.
Start with one person. That'll work for you. I think that's great. Seriously.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Yeah.
And so I've been, I have this whiteboard that I write down all this stuff, and that's going to go on my whiteboard. So thank you.
Right.
The other thing that I thought of when you were chatting is that, if you look at social media and they post something, I had a client that posted that they really wanted to read a book one time, and then it was send it, let's order it this second, open another window. But on social media, you have a chance to either be interesting, which I think a lot of us are trying to do, right? Let's, get likes and views and everything, but you can also be interested, right? You can also watch, right? And pay attention to what's going on, and that can be more valuable. Because again, who's the most important person in the equation? It's them. The spotlight's on them. Yeah, I love that.
Wow.
Can I be your
That's-
client, Pinder?
Can I be your client? Do you want some of the small clothes too? Everyone, we've just gone over 1 hour, and that was an amazing session. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you all for coming. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks.